What attracted me to Brian was he's fun, he's social, outgoing, like to do a lot of the same things I like to do, concerts, sports, going out with friends, and just was fun to be around.
Brian's always been larger than life personality. We've always been close, the best of friends. He's always had a huge group of friends. He's always kind of kept everyone together.
Well, Brian has always been like super fun-loving. He's got a big personality. He loves people. He loves to be social. And more than anything, he loved his boys, and he was very proud of his boys. Like that was like a big thing.
Always had a smile. I mean, even to this day, he has a great smile, and it takes the room down. And that's I just remember him just always happy.
Brian was huge into music. We spent a lot of time going to concerts. So concerts were a big thing for the family. We went to a lot of Metallica was one of his favorites. Brian was working at Cisco, so he was really selling food to restaurants. You really kind of have to balance your life, and not only being a great breadwinner, Brian did a good job of balancing being a good husband and a good father at the time.
Brian was one of the most caring and emotionally giving guys I've been around. Always paying attention to Jenna and her needs, to the boys and their needs. And it was always very, very evident that he was there emotionally for all of them.
Brian was, oh my gosh, so much fun. He was the prankster. He was the one to always make you laugh. He was a good person to be around. He always saw the positive in everything, and just so much fun to be with. Everybody loved him. He treated Jenna like a queen. He took care of her. He loved to do anything for her. He liked to surprise her. He liked to do cute, fun, entertaining things for her. Again, just anything to make her smile, anything to make her feel appreciative of him.
And he was a great husband, but he wanted to be a father. That was something that he really wanted to be. And then having a boy that he could coach and bring along in the football and the baseball, I think that was something that he really, really wanted. And obviously, when he got him, he was very much involved with the kids. Matter of fact, the backyard was a sports backyard. He had a soccer thing back there. He had baseball, t-ball back there. And every night when he came home, he was always involved with the sports with the kids.
On the bases, go! Touch them off, touch them off.
Well, Brian loved bringing the boys to preschool. He loved coming to all their shows, but also he loved to be the dad on the field. So Brian was always like he was helping coach baseball practice. He was on the football field helping out there. Basically their biggest cheerleader.
Oh, God. 911, where's your emergency?
Yeah, I'm on Santan Village Parkway and Coronado. I accidentally hit somebody in the road.
Okay, are they injured?
Yeah, he's on the ground.
What happened?
I don't know. I was coming around the corner and I didn't see him. I just heard a loud bang, and when I looked in the back, I saw something in the road. Turn around, I couldn't tell what was going on.
At the time of the accident, it happened February 22nd of 2018, Brian was 45 years old. And he was walking home from Topgolf after a work function and was struck by a vehicle.
1834 update on the male. He's gurgling, massive head bleed. He's laying on his stomach. This is how I found him. He's kind of gurgling. Obviously, this is the blood. I did not try to move him.
And so when the doorbell rang and I looked through the peephole and saw that it was a police officer, my heart dropped. And he informed me that Brian had been involved in an accident.
How bad?
I would say not good. But it's hard to
tell.
It's hard to tell right now. He's got a head injury though. It looks significant.
And then as soon as he mentioned that he was in the trauma ICU, I do remember dropping to the floor and he had to help me up. Yes, Brian was definitely unresponsive when I first got to the hospital. Okay. The injuries that Brian sustained were the traumatic brain injury. He had some contusions on the back of his head. He had some skin lacerations, or a skin laceration on the right side of his scalp and through his eyelid, and 7 broken ribs. Due to the injuries that Brian sustained, he was intubated initially in the field, and then before we left Chandler Regional, had a tracheotomy, and then was put on a ventilator. And also due to those having the tracheotomy and the ventilator, he had to have a feeding tube put in as well.
And so as we came in, Jenna obviously is hysterical, the family's hysterical. And when we get to actually get into to see him after a lot of time, you know, it's complete chaos in my opinion. I mean, it was just, the way he looked is indescribable. I mean, he really had his face ripped off and swollen and stitches everywhere and breathing tubes down his throat and wires everywhere and machines beeping and making noise everywhere. It just, obviously terrifying. There's nothing more terrifying than to see a loved one in a situation where you know that a machine is keeping him alive.
So due to Brian's brain injury, the first time we were actually able to get yes or no or any kind of response from him was 3 months after the accident. I just wanted him back. I just wanted him to talk to me. I just wanted to know that he was okay or he wasn't. I just wanted him to say something.
I'm still optimistic, but I'm more cautiously optimistic at this point. When he came out of his coma, there was milestones that was like, oh, this is huge. You know, now he's breathing again. Now he's actually reacting to, you know, talk again. Now he's actually having motor skills again. Before you wouldn't see him for a week and something big had changed. Now you can not see him for a week and really progress isn't necessarily changing all that rapidly.
Brian finally came home June 29th, which was 4 months after his injury. I was just so ready for him to be home. I just wanted him home in our house with our family. And it took a couple days for it to actually sink in that it was going to be a lot harder than I had anticipated.
Brian, morning.
So once I get Brian up in the morning and take off his condom catheter, I get him dressed. And the reason that I have to get him dressed is because he doesn't have full motion of his arms. He can help pull up shorts and he can put his left arm through a shirt, but the right arm has to be helped through the shirt. And he can't bend over to his feet to put the shorts over his feet. But he does assist with, you know, pulling them all the way up. I've just started to try to encourage him to bend, even lean over to touch his toes to see, and his flexibility is like out the window. So I think if he tried to tie his shoes, he would for sure, put socks and shoes on, he would for sure fall out of his chair because he just can't bend all the way over. So Brian is able to brush his teeth on his own, but he doesn't always do a good enough job, so I definitely end up helping him at the end, let him do it first, and then continue and get the rest of it done. Shaving, he needs 100% help. We don't use shaving cream or like true razors. I use clippers. When Brian has to use the restroom, he can't stand up. So whether it's number 1 or number 2, he is sitting down on the commode that we have for him. I have to help him transfer from his wheelchair to the commode. So during the day, Brian does wear a brief adult diaper, just in case there's accidents because he can't communicate when he has to go to the bathroom. So sometimes Brian's able to follow directions easily and sometimes he can't. Brian does definitely have some emotional outbursts at times, and I think it could be anywhere from pain to lacking his independence and not liking that he can't do things on his own and being frustrated about that. So our in-home caregiver, Heather, comes 3 nights a week, and she comes and sits with him while he eats dinner, just because he needs the monitoring.
Is it still too hot?
Smelling.
Over here. There you go.
And then they do work on some apps we have on the iPad for him that are like a hand-eye type of coordination. They're also speech-driven and spelling and reading-driven. And then he does have flashcards that she does with him as well.
1, 2, 3.
In the evening, when he gets a shower, sometimes it's myself. Most times it's our in-home caregiver. We did modify our bathroom so that we can have a rolling shower for him. It's still not easy to do. Now, bathing Brian takes probably about 15 to 20 minutes, whereas before his accident, he was able to get himself in and out of the shower in about 5 minutes. So we have a hospital bed that Brian sleeps in, and then I have a twin bed next to it. I wanted to keep it looking like it used to, like a king bed with pretty pillows and things when I do make the bed. And so that was important to me to be able to sleep next to each other. Brian has the hospital bed really more for, it's got an inflatable cushion just to keep him comfortable because he doesn't move around a lot and rotate his body like you or I do. And then it also can raise his feet, elevate his feet. It can elevate his head if he wants to, things like that.
I think certain things he comprehends because he'll acknowledge, but it's hard because you don't have that interaction between, and you just kind of want him to talk, but for some reason it's just, I don't know if it's not firing for him to where he can have a response, but you kind of want that reassurance, and that's the most difficult part.
Jenna's hardest struggle is at this point she's got to be a mom and be psychologically stable and be positive and really kind of present this overall status that's unimaginable. And it's a level of positiveness and a level of understanding that I struggle with, and I'm not even involved like she is. But in context with Jenna, I mean, the emotions and the positivity and the strength that you have to have, it's pretty incredible.
The struggle is that she couldn't do it all herself. And she thought she could, but she got to a point she had a meltdown. And the fact is that she could not do it herself. So we all had to step in a little bit more, and obviously getting a caregiver help, but trying to do everything herself, I think, was something that she really, really wanted to do because of her love for Brian. But I think there was a period of time where finally realization came upon her and said she couldn't. And I think that's been the biggest struggle, was the biggest struggle.
I have this sort of dream state vision in my mind of where Brian's at. Is that, when you're in a dream and you want to scream but you can't. You want to run because there's somebody coming in and you can't. I feel like Brian's in that state where I think in there he can do it, but it just won't come out. I think he's trying, and I think when you see Brian get frustrated, he screams and yells and gets frustrated.
It's okay. It's all right.
And I think that's part of this, is that, he can't express himself accurately, and I think he's sort of trapped.
But he's my motivation too, and the kids. I mean, I've always been very, heart health and just being healthy is important to me. So I want to be healthy for the kids, I want to stay healthy for him. Even if it means I can't lift him anymore, I still want to be around for him. My workouts are intense. I'm lifting heavy weights. I'm taking care of my body. I really feel like that has extended the life of me being able to do that for him. That was brought to my attention when Dr. Altman was here, that I'm not going to be able to lift him forever. I didn't think about those kinds. I had never thought about those kinds of things. But yes, I mean, in the next I'm hoping 20 to 30 years, not 10 years. I'll need to have something that either he can roll into on his own. My hope, though, is that he gets strong enough that he can transfer himself into the car.
Ready?
So he began outpatient therapy at Barrows on July 1st and goes for 3 hours at a time, twice a week, doing speech therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy, 1 hour each. It's crucial for him to continue to have the therapy. So if it were to stop, I feel as though he would just be stagnant and not improve at all. Pick up his hand for him. Oh, there. Ah!
Okay, let's do our reaching for our ball. Okay, you ready? No, you gotta reach for it. Reach up here. You gotta look. There you go. Good job, Brian. There you go. Good. What is that? Yeah, what is that? Okay, let's look in the mirror. Let's say it together. Bike. You say it. There you go. Good. Let's say it. Bike.
Bike.
Very nice job, Brian. That's right. That's a bike. What color is that bike?
Bike.
Yeah, what color is that bike? Is it red? Can you tell me? Don't shake your head. Can you say no? Is it blue? No? Look in the mirror, Brian. Blue. Very nice job. So we're trying to establish a communication system, be it verbal or an augmentative communication system with using the iPad. And first of all, what we need is him to be able to select the icon or the picture that he wants. I'm thirsty.
I am thirsty.
Yeah, there you go.
Can I hold that?
I think you can. And so we've been working a lot on just reaching. So we're using the ball for him to learn to reach. He gets something. So also teaching that cause and effect. And then now we're getting much more consistent with him initiating reaching for either an object or with the communication board. So that has definitely been an improvement since I've been working with Brian. Pick another one.
I love you, Jenna.
Oh, you get a smoochie from your wife.
No, no.
Can I have a kiss?
No.
Please? Are you embarrassed? You're never embarrassed. Give me a kiss. Give me a kiss. Brian. Oh, see? Thank you.
Relax. So he's like very hypotonic. All of his muscles are super tight. So just try to get him to relax so we can get a little more range of motion so he can do more things like put on his own shoes or put on his own socks, whatever he needs to do.
So I started working with Brian in July 2018. When he came in, his range of motion was about 60 degrees in all positions, which is about right here, and right here. Normal range of motion in all of those positions is all the way up here at about 180 degrees. And today he's achieving close to about 120 to 130 degrees in all three positions. So significant gains from a passive perspective. However, he's still limited in the ability to do that himself. So it's us taking him through that motion rather than him doing it himself. So he's still significantly limited with putting on a shirt, helping out with reaching something, scratching his head, washing his face, etc. So that's why we're trying to sustain, maintain, and improve range of motion in all planes. So that way he's prepared for like kind of conscious or volitional movements when he's ready.
Good job, dude.
Come this way, Brian. Over here. There you go. So we've been working on, initially he couldn't push the wheelchair at all, and really during his first, he's been in 2 bouts of therapy with me. The first bout, we never got to the point where he could even initiate the wheelchair, pushing the wheelchair on his own. This time around, we did a lot of hand over hand where I was just physically moving his leg, physically moving his arm. And after a month or 2, he started to pick it up and started to initiate a little on his own. And then from there, probably about December time frame, we started doing 2 laps around our track, which is 200 feet. and he could do that in a little over 8 minutes, and now he's doing it in under 5 minutes. The best he's done is about 4 minutes and 40 seconds. So he's gotten to the point in the last couple of weeks where he's starting to take steps with his left side without holding on to anything, which is going to be helpful for moving forward with walking. Straighten, straighten, straighten. So the goal for him is to be able to be independent in the home, in the wheelchair, that he can get around in the house and do whatever he needs to. And then long term would be that he could do that in the community too.
Kiss. Good job. That was a good kiss. That was a good kiss. It's pretty. So when we leave to go somewhere, I actually am lucky enough that our 8-year-old has taken on the responsibility almost every single time we go somewhere. He takes Brian out the front door, down the little ramp we have, and then I can transfer him into the car. Transferring him to the car, to just stand, pivot, and sit him down. His boys mean everything to him. Like they are his world. I think a lot of times he doesn't express a lot of emotion that's very clear to me right now, post-accident, but I think a lot of times it's really hard for him to see the boys like go to their games and not be able to participate like he used to, not be able to coach. He loves his boys so much. So he was a great dad, and he still is. It's hard. It's really hard. It's probably one of the hardest things. I see them struggling with like behavior, home and at school, and I just know a lot of it is just like they need my attention because they have less of my attention and they really have less of Brian's attention, and it's just really, really hard.
Brian, like I said, Brian was such a hands-on dad. That those boys just, I mean, he walked in the room and it was like they ran to him. And I think that's definitely struggled with them because they kind of lost their other playmate, but their dad, their influence, their one that was the first one to take him outside to throw a ball with or do all that stuff, the connection with their dad.
And I think it's been an evolution.
And not understanding it.
And that's part of it.
They don't understand.
I don't think they initially, because how young they were, they initially understood the gravity of the situation. Because when he first came home, they wanted him to respond to them, and obviously he couldn't. Okay, so the impact, and probably from an age standpoint, the impact on Duelli probably is a little bit more than Carducci, because Carducci is to the point where he understands, and but from a Duelli standpoint, he still is struggling with the understanding that Daddy doesn't respond to him the way he'd like to see Daddy respond to him.
Yeah, I mean, it's just him being at practice, him coaching them, him just being a dad. I mean, those kids absolutely adore him, and it's just, he doesn't have the capacity to do that anymore, and it's just tough to realize that they're going to grow up, and, Brian is here, but, is he really there? Can he do those? He's not going to be able to be the dad that he wanted to be, which is, everybody suffers, so.
When I watched Brian coach with his kids, and the kids that he coached was a little bit passionate and loving. He cared about the kids. He cared that they did well. It's been rough. I mean, luckily there's a good group of friends, but the dynamics definitely changed. Like, I see her dad and her mom at every single game, and before it was grandparents came, but it was a different role for the grandparents. Now it's more like, you're watching 3 kids instead of just 2. It's definitely tougher. Life's definitely turned upside down,
Sports was a big part of Brian's life, and sports was a big part of Brian, Carducci, and Duelli's lives. From playing catch in the backyard to Brian actually helping coach shortly after the accident. One time, driving to practice, Carducci said to me, "Do you think Dad'll ever be in the dugout with me again?" And I said, we're all working towards that. But even if he doesn't, you know he's going to be there at the games all the time. To me, that expresses what the boys don't have with Brian now.
In work with Dooley, I mean, both of the boys were always very smart. But I would say that maybe he just had a little bit of a loss at his maybe motivation somewhat. He would still get his things done, but he would just need a little extra coaxing. Jenna's not a single parent, but there's a lot that Brian could step in and do before that he can't do now.
Please, do not. What don't you understand about don't touch?
I'm moving.
You don't need to move it. What, do you want to read this book? Exactly.
She's really doing it all by herself, and I think that the absence of their dad has definitely impacted that and been very hard on both of those boys.
What hurts me the most is Brian won't be there to mentor his son in those certain milestone moments in their life. You know, driving, you know, the sex ed talk, you know, the first girlfriend, the first heartbreak, the first, marriage, or it's, you know, how to treat a woman, like, you know, prom, all that stuff that, you know, especially those high school years, they're huge for a young guy, and you know, how he molds, you know. So that one hurts the most. I mean, you know, hopefully a good group of friends help mold those guys, but it's still nothing to replace your father.
So someone in Brian's condition, for the future, as far as future care goes, it's in the millions, and that's scary. It's a scary thing to think about. Since coming home from the hospital, he sees a physiatrist, which is the doctor that followed him in the neuro rehab. He's supposed to see her every 4 to 6 weeks. His primary care physician every 2 to 3 months. A little bit, I worry more about taking all of our, I mean, we don't have a lot of money, but taking, you know, anything we do have to help him, and then what do I have left for my kids? What do I have left for me and Brian to grow old together? My world now is very different than I ever could have imagined. I do everything for him. And it's hard to be the mom I want to be, and to also be like his wife, and separate the wife from the caregiver. That's been the hardest thing for me, is separating that caregiver role. I just want to be his wife. You lose so much. It's like, I mean, it's just everything. I mean, he's still my husband, and I know he loves me still. He tells me he loves me with a lot of coaxing, so maybe he doesn't. But it's hard to, I mean, I feel like so much of the time when I'm doing caregiver type activities with him, it's like my emotions, I just shut them off completely until he starts laughing or doing something stupid, and then it's like we're right back to our normal selves. But it's, you know, I try to make the best of it all. So my goals for Brian, if he could talk, I will take that over all else. I just want him to talk to me. I miss his voice. I miss the dumb things he used to say to me. All the nicknames he had for me, all the nicknames for the boys. I miss it so much.
It's heartbreaking, and I just want them to be able to be comfortable and have some quality of life, and for the boys to be taken care of. And that's all he wanted to do, is provide for Jenna and the boys and be a dad. And it's almost like, you know, it's taken away from him, and it breaks my heart.
I will say right now, a #1 challenge to meet is the primary caregiver. Some more support for home health, caregiver intervention, both of daily living as well as somebody to keep working with him.
Okay, I love you. I'll see you later, okay? You got to be thankful for what we have. And I'm 100% thankful for him being alive. I'm thankful for Jenna and everything that she's done. I'm thankful for everything. Life sends you things all the time that you have to figure out how to get through. And this is one of them.